Jacob Khachatryan is a criminal lawyer who will not promise you the world just to sail you up the river. With his experience and skills, you get a defense attorney that is truly by your side, defending you at every stage of the prosecution, including a jury trial where he's had over a 92% success rate for his clients. Whether it's a DUI, domestic violence, or even something as serious as murder, Jacob is the guy you need by your side. That's Jacob Khachatryan, attorney at law. Call 747-755-5555 for Jacob Khachatryan, criminal defense.
Thank you.
This is Maurice Jones-Drew, and you're listening to the What's Bruin Show.
You're listening to the What's Bruin Show, part of the What's Bruin Show network, with your hosts, Jake Berryfield and Mike Regalado, and occasionally some friends, talking all things UCLA sports. And now, it's time for the What's Bruin Show.
Well, hello, and welcome to What's Bruin. I am your host, Jake Merrifield, and I'm joined by my good buddy, Mike Regalado. He's here with us on the phone.
Mike Regalado.
Mike, how are you doing tonight?
I don't know, Jake. Sports sucks.
I mean, I think we should just hit it right from the top. Here we go. Sometimes it's hard.
Sometimes it's hard to be a Bruin. Giving all your love to just one team.
Mikey, did you ever think you'd be singing along with John Belushi and Dan Aykroyd?
I was hoping as a kid.
Yeah.
But then I learned about the
don't you blaspheme? Don't you blaspheme right here?
culture.
Get out of here, Mike. Oh my God. No, that's not the direction I want that to go.
I read the biography of John Belushi.
Yeah, he was a very sick man.
Wow. Like, wow.
Yeah.
That's he would have he would have white powder races. He would put out like a 5-foot line, and he'd tell another person, "Hey, you start there, I'll start there. Whoever gets to the middle first wins." I was like, "What?"
Yeah,
man.
That's why the
70s New York was wacky.
Were tremendously damaging to society as a whole. You know, not unlike the last 5 years we just had, or the last 10 years. Anywho. Well, anyways, that's not where I thought that was going to go, but that's where it went.
If you want to ride,
this is the What's Bruin Show.
Ride the white horse
on the What's Bruin Show network. On Twitter,
we have to find ways to laugh, Jake.
That's so sad. At What's Bruin Show.
White lines.
Instagram and Threads. At What's Bruin Show. Email is
going through my. Okay, I gotta stop.
Oh, I thought you were gonna I thought you were gonna give me one for everything I did. Email is what'sbruinshow@gmail.com. You can subscribe
Something
on Patreon.
like a phenomenon, baby.
Get away from my pauses.
All right, I'm done.
It's okay. what'sbruin.substack.com or patreon.com/what'sbruinshow or just what'sbruinshow.com for how much, Mike?
$2.
A couple bucks a month, or maybe a little bit more, but it's up there. This week we published a couple. We published a new Rotten Lunch. Me talking to Michael and Alicia on my lunch break. And also a BJ edition, which is me going to Bill's house.
The MJ.
Oh, not the MJ edition, the BJ edition. And where's the BJ edition? I don't have it here right now. Maybe it was the BJ edition. Me going over to Bill's house, sitting at his dining table and making him talk about stuff. And so those are.
I'm sure Suzanne loved you.
Well, she came over and called us a basketball school and pissed me off, but that's all right. But if you want to listen to those, you got to subscribe, and those are on the Patreon or the Substack feed. Thank you very much. You can also search the show on YouTube. Just search What's Bruin Show and ignore the stupid hockey show. And you can get your WBSN merch at a My Locker site. Look at it in the show notes. And also, you can call the What's Bruin hotline, of which we have a lot of calls tonight, which we will get to a little bit later. And not, only like 3 or 4 of them are from the same father-son duo from New Jersey or somewhere on the East Coast. I think it's Jersey. I think it was Jersey.
Nice.
Anyways, yeah. Kudos to those guys. Anyways, the hotline is 805-399-4WBS.
4WBS. Suck it, Rain of Troy.
Suck it, Rain of Troy. It's funny. I tried to stop to give you a chance to do your delay. I think you're waiting for me to start. It's okay. It's okay. When you're remote, it's a little different. It's fine. Anywho,
wait,
was that a referee's whistle, Mike?
We're a bit more efficient than UCLA right now, so I'm not sad about our lack of production or synchronicity.
Man, you're telling me. It's as if I were trying to. It's as if I were under center. Was he under center? It's as if I was taking the handoff or the snap from the center, and I turned around and some guy just ran right into me and caused me to fumble the ball. It's very unsynchronous. Unsynchronous. I don't know. It's terrible, Mike. It sucks.
Everything
terrible.
sucks.
What are we doing?
And Philadelphia just threw an interception.
Go Birds.
Birds gone.
All right. Well,
God, my fantasy team sucked. So it was a sucky weekend, Jake.
that's only going
everything.
Yeah, I have a fun story at the end for what's brewing with you, but other than that, that was just absolutely brutal. So with that being said, Mike, I mean, do you have any bro-affiliate headlines you want to get to?
No, it's all bad.
All right, the bro-affiliate headlines are done. So then let's get right to the game that was and let you wax on about what you thought about this stinker.
The game that was.
Blue 32, California, hood, hey! Football.
And Mike, I know you're watching the Birds, but turn down your volume because I keep getting the referee whistles.
Oh, sorry, that's
not that
actually
it's not
in the
fun,
next room.
but yeah, that's fine.
So.
Don't worry about it. So the game that was, UCLA loses their inaugural Big Ten game to what I think is a pretty good Indiana team, but not that good because they get absolutely boat race curb stomped. They're down 20-0. They're down 14-3 in the first half quarter, and they're down 14-0 in the first half quarter, and Indiana's on pace to score like 112 points, and it doesn't get much better from there. There's a couple signs of life in the middle, but other than that, pretty much a no contest. UCLA versus Indiana. Who would have thunk it? But there it happens. You were there, Mike, just like I was. We didn't hook up during the game because I switched seats at halftime to talk to Colby from 1-800 Loan Mart, and so I didn't see it at the game. But you were there at the game, and you saw what was going on. You saw how miserable that was, a terrible viewing experience that was for all involved. What are your thoughts?
Oh, geez, where do I start?
Oh, before you start, guess what?
It was
listen to the post game
what?
that I put out on Saturday night. So you got that going for you. Best post game for UCLA football you're going to find. All right, sorry, Mike. Now the floor is yours.
Hands down. And not just that, multiple.
Bear down.
Multiple therapeutic post games, actually. Let me start off with the pregame. That was actually pretty cool. There was, a buzz in the air. The Bruin walk was back, and on top of that, they had they literally rolled out the blue carpet for UCLA, which I thought was cool. That was a nice touch. The team came all tailored in similar suits, looking snazzy, and they looked like they were in business mode. In-game experience, I got to say, it was pretty cool. I do like the fact that they're. I don't know if this is going to be continuous, but they used Blur's song 2 for the kickoff.
That's nice.
So I was like, "Ooh, that's cool."
Mike, did you notice?
And yeah,
did you notice that the speakers were juiced to like 12 in the first quarter?
Oh yeah.
And when they were playing the bear sound, though, it sounded like a dentist drill. They had to dial that back about a quarter into the game because it was horrible. It was like a screech.
Oh no, I didn't hear that because it's weird. The press box, it's like closed off. It's like shut in. It's like a bubble. I'm like, so we can hear crowd noises, but it's muffled. So I didn't catch that, but and they did keep the. Although now they definitely have to earn that after that pre fourth quarter kind of celebration, California love. So they kept that, which I kind of like because I thought that was kind of a cool tradition the last year or two. But
it kills me when they do it when the Bruins are down like by 40 points and there's like no way. In this game, they were down 28-10. I don't remember if they had the ball or not, but if they were down 35 or 42-13, I think I would have been a little more upset by it. But I thought it was still fine, plenty appropriate. Given the score wasn't like they had the chance to be within a couple of scores, things could happen, right? So it wasn't.
Yeah.
it got that bad, but it wasn't that bad at that point. So I mean, anyways, but yeah, they still played that. All that stuff I think was okay, other than having the speakers up too loud at the beginning. I'm sorry, continue.
Yeah. So aside from that, the just the fervor of UCLA football, college football back at the Rose Bowl, hanging out with friends, tailgating, all that stuff. Just getting excited for Deshaun Foster's first game, and actually there was actually a pretty decent crowd. It's got to be the biggest home opening crowd in like 5-6 seasons.
It was big, and it wasn't
especially on the
overwhelming by Indiana. It was not.
No,
it was not over Indiana at all. It was an appropriate size crowd of Bruin fans.
Exactly.
Will that repeat itself?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I guess I'll probably show up for the Ducks.
That's
oh my God.
That's my next point. With what we saw on the field, wow, I can see attendance dropping, especially if this continues. I mean, we've talked about this for several weeks, that this is the horrible death stretch, the death march of UCLA's schedule, where they go at LSU, Oregon is at home, and then they are at Penn State. We were hoping for a win over Indiana, so that gives some momentum, but wow, in some aspects, it looked like they regressed from what they did in Hawaii. There was some good stuff that I saw taken away. That was a little bit more improved from Hawaii, but you just cannot. I have no words. That's how stunning this is. The defense was supposed to be the strength. They gave up 42 points. The offense did better. It seemed like they shifted their focus from passing game to run game. But again, they could only get into the end zone once. That's a bit of a concern. They were, and despite that one ridiculous penalty-laden drive, which Indiana had a lot of penalties, which, and in being unbiased, they did not deserve at least like 3 or 4 of those.
Yeah,
some of those were pretty ridiculous. The targeting ones were just like, that's a tackle. That's what normal people call a tackle. So that's unfortunate that Indiana got boned on those. But UCLA only able to get into the end zone once, giving up 42 points. I was kind of getting annoyed with the Cignetti kind of like cockiness, but I was like, you know what? He earned this. Congratulations to him. He came in here and just punched UCLA in the mouth. The Bruins had no answer. They would slow him down. They'd put him in compromising positions on third down, and then guess what? They would convert on third down. 9 out of 12 times, Indiana converted on third down.
Mike, how much do you think the defense? We'll start there. I'm less depressed about the defense than I'm at the offense. How much do you think of the defense not being able to get off the field on third down is them being like actually bad, or just running into a team that's actually pretty good? Like, I would give Indiana more credit for how they played offensively than I would detract from UCLA and how they played defensively. Like, we know the problem is UCLA is having problems generating pressure, or was having trouble generating pressure in this game. But I was more impressed with Indiana's offense than I was depressed by UCLA's defense. Did you feel the same or different about that?
A little bit of both. I mean, I was wondering about that too. And like in game, I was like, Indiana has to have more time of possession, which they did, but it wasn't much. They had the ball 31 minutes while UCLA had it 28 minutes. So that's not a lot. It's not a lot of time. It's just that Indiana knew exactly what UCLA's defense was doing. On third down, as you said, they could not get any pressure off the edges. There were 0 sacks. They had 3 tackles for a loss, 3 or 4 tackles for loss, which that's fine. That's if you can put your opponent, have them go backwards, hey, totally cool. But it was funny. I think they had 4 tackles for a loss for 5 yards, I think. So it's like right at the line of scrimmage. But hey, as long as it stops it. But then you look at the big picture, as I just said, allowing Indiana to just be surgical with their offense, especially on third down and finding those open guys, 10, 12 yards downfield to continue those drives. It's like, oh, that was just depressing. It's just like this weight. It's like, oh, we're going to get off the field. Oh, God damn it. No, we're not.
For sure.
So I can imagine how the defense was. And, nothing, I still need to see more from Malloy, but I was wondering how much better the defense would be if Lynn was still UCLA's defense coordinator. Obviously, that's not happening, but that added to a lot of my anger over the weekend. It was not a good weekend, Jake. Yeah. I had people contacting me saying, you know what? I'm taking the season off. And I'm like, I don't.
Who could blame you?
I can't. Yeah, I can't. But then I think about it too. It kind of feels like this animosity towards UCLA football is carrying over from Chip Kelly. And you know what? We have to be fair. Chip Kelly kind of screwed this all up. Recruiting was not great. Play calling was not great at for Bieniemy. Execution wasn't great. Let me reverse. I wouldn't say the play calling wasn't great. I thought there were actually some really interesting stuff that he was doing. It's just the execution wasn't there. And I'm not blaming this on the players, but I'm thinking, I even asked Foster after the game, I'm like, is this too complicated? And he said, football's football, which I get it, but there are different types of football. And obviously this football didn't work. So, it was just kind of frustrating to see that this is not coming together at this point.
A couple things with that. With the defense, man, I don't know. Like I said, I think for me, like I already said, I think this is more the quality of Indiana rather than how bad UCLA is. I think we'll see them perform better at some point in this year. And, whether Lynn is there or not, obviously we think that he's a pretty good coach, and now he's across town, and that's a big, giant freaking bummer.
Whatever.
What a shame.
That crap.
Yeah, what a shame. With Kamar Ramsey as well.
What a shame.
But like I said, I think a lot of this we have to give credit to Indiana for how they played. But the Bruin offense.
Oh, totally.
And when you're talking about is it too complicated? Or you're talking about play execution, and the play calls and stuff. I am so. It's like every worst nightmare or worst case scenario that I imagine with this team when I heard that Bieniemy was going to become the coordinator, because this team led the Pac-12 in rushing last year, and now they really aren't very good at it at all. They got a little bit better this game, but still not very good. It seems like all these mistakes that Garbers is making are the result of him not being comfortable in what he's doing. We've seen him perform at a much higher level than this in multiple games in the past, and to me, once again, it comes down to, well, what's the thing that changed? And it's Kelly left, and now you have an entirely new offense with Bieniemy. They're trying to kind of learn on the fly, and I am, becoming convinced, unless we start to see some massive improvement, I'm becoming convinced that's really where the most of the mistake has been made, and I don't know how that gets better. I just don't. I guess theoretically, look at Hoosiers versus LSU. You could make a case that the Hoosiers have had a better performing defense than LSU has, so maybe it gets a little easier on the road in Death Valley. Really funny. Yeah, I don't know. Do I have a laugh track somewhere?
Sorry, I was trying to do my best.
No, you did a good job, Santa. Nice job, Santa. But
I was actually trying to channel what the hell are their names? The two old Muppets at the top of the.
Oh yeah, you actually did a good job with that. Good job.
Thank you very much.
but
here's. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, a lot of this feels like it's carrying over from the Chip Kelly era. It kind of feels like a remainder of the Chip Kelly era, but it's not. We kind of have to put things into perspective, because technically Deshaun Foster has a better record through 2 games than Chip Kelly did at UCLA.
That's great. Which
I know that's a stretch. That's a stretch. It's not saying much, but it is only his first 2 games. People are already like, "Oh, he can't coach. He's never been at this level. He should be a coordinator. Fire Jarman. Bring it back. Hire this. Put this coach in this position. Whatever. You know what? We're here. It's who knows if it's going to get better. It better get a lot better by season's end because UCLA loses a ton of guys next year. And unless they are just absolute studs in the transfer portal, it's probably going to get worse. And that's crazy because how can it get worse than this? Well,
Mike, you bring up a good point, and that is, this year's team isn't the result of bad Chip Kelly recruiting. We talked about it all summer. They have players on the roster that were productive. They have players on the roster that are worth being excited for. And next year was always going to be a big, major problem because of all those guys that aren't going to be there next year, right? But that was a next year problem. The key for this year is they had to get some positive results, build a little bit of buzz, and then get the recruiting steam kind of rolling. And that's still theoretically possible. And you're absolutely right. It is only 2 games. However, this is something we were talking about, like kind of off before we came on. UCLA football. And by the way, do you have anything else to say about the Indiana game particular at all, Mike?
No, not really. I just think it's just unfortunate.
It was very unfortunate.
Maybe it is just the fact that they didn't execute properly, but this is what you put together. You have to figure out as coaches, how to put this together. And this isn't just a Deshaun Foster thing. This is an Eric Bieniemy thing. This is a Keika Malloy thing. This is all the position coaches, because there really wasn't any position that looked great. I would say maybe out of all groups, maybe the linebackers were decent.
Special teams looked all right.
But that's not. But that actually, there you go. Yeah, Martin Bugatti. How much time? We have 2 weeks left on the clock, right?
I think so, yeah.
Before we steal that. Yeah. But yeah, he nailed a field goal.
He missed the one early, but I thought, otherwise, they had a great punt. They did that. I don't want to look, Mike. I was trying to get you to say no, Jake. I don't have anything else to say about this goddamn game because I want to throw in the goddamn trash can. Do you have anything else to say about this goddamn game, Mike?
No, but I have this 75-page notes that I want to really quickly recite. No, I'm just kidding.
Thank you.
No, I just think it was a bit depressing, and that's the thing. It's the optics of the whole thing.
That's what
you get blown out by. You get blown out by a team that, and I get it. Signetti has done a freaking amazing job bringing in transfers and just being an overall badass coach. He was ready. UCLA was not, and that's unfortunate because they had 2 weeks to prepare.
Mike, this is the thing that really does bother me about the way that this game has been covered a little bit. Just like, there's so many things that bug me about the cliches that people throw out about just college football in general, and in particular when they're talking about something that I'm looking deeply into, like we cover UCLA. But before the season got started, we were grousing and annoyed by the fact that the cliche machine was going, and the cliches being, well, Chip Kelly left this program in January, February, and he went to Ohio State. So they had their coach walked away from them. When anybody that's looking at the situation knows that he should have been fired in November. They didn't pull the trigger on him in November, and they gave him the opportunity to walk away and make us, make everything about the program look less, right? That is, mistake number one. Then mistake number 2, or problem number 2 is now they hire Deshaun Foster in February, which is not an ideal time to make a hire. However, I think they made the best of a bad situation, got some positive buzz out of it, despite the fact that he is a coach with like 0 experience whatsoever as a coordinator or as a head coach. Literally, his experience is 2 games now, right? As a coordinator, head coach, he's got 2 games experience. But you made the best of that situation. You make it into the summer to Big Ten Media Day. And now Deshaun Foster has that gaffe on stage that took 5 seconds for him to make and was not a big deal in reality, but the perception of it gave all the prognosticators, I'm talking about legal terms, prognosticators, a chance to,
overrule, Jake.
I'm making up my own words. Prognosticators, a chance to now link the Deshaun Foster goofing on the Big Ten media stage with the Chip Kelly walking away, and now he's unprepared and everything's in bad shape. Then you fast forward to how the season has started, and that reinforces all of those cliche opinions. Now, look, I guess it turns out that there might be a little bit of truth there. They are relatively disorganized, and they do look like a team that's trying to put something together. And there's a big problem with their preparation at this point. Like, I don't think you can say anything other than that, looking at how the offense is played. But
yeah,
when they were coming into the season, they had the opportunity to be perceived in a few different ways. Number one, me and you were cautiously optimistic. We thought that they had a chance to, get in the bowl range territory, win 6, 7, 8 games, somewhere in that range. They definitely had a hard ceiling, right, because of the toughness of the schedule. But we thought if they could get their offense going, they had the talent, they could win a lot of these 50-50 games. That looks like it's off the table now. More on that and their evolving schedule in a minute. But it doesn't look like yours or mine's cautiously optimistic take on the Bruins is going to pan out. Can you agree with that one, Mike?
Oh, yeah.
It looks like that ship has sailed. Then they had the opportunity to just be completely stay under the radar like they were in the offseason, stay relatively anonymous, and just win what everybody was expecting them to win, probably 3, 4, or 5 games, somewhere in that range, and just have everybody ignore them for the season, right? Just be kind of like a conference afterthought, finish somewhere in the bottom half, the bottom third of the conference, and just be that, and everybody be like, okay, fine. And I think that there was an opportunity for, even if they were just anonymous, Foster would still have a chance to say, well, look, we're rebuilding here, and we had a couple bright spots, whatever. And by the way, that's still on the table. It's only game 2, but just the perception of how they've looked so far, it's hard to imagine more success at this point. But they had a chance to be anonymous. Now we have the worst of these scenarios, and that is they look absolutely dreadful. They get dominated by Indiana at home in their home opener, and now they are like, it looks like we're in like the worst possible timeline scenario, and they're looking like anytime UCLA's name comes up, it is as being named the doormat of the league. And and I know Purdue's out there too, but Purdue had a nice win a couple weeks ago. They got killed by Notre Dame this week. But it's like now the program as a whole for the season, the perception is, oh my God, UCLA, oh my God, they're so bad. Oh, they're so bad. Because on national TV, they looked horrible against Hawaii for the first half. Everybody turned it off. And now on national TV, everybody saw Indiana's coming out party at the Rose Bowl, and they're the belle of the ball, and they were, beating the life out of the Bruins on their home turf. And so now that's what the perception is. And by the way, that perception kind of matches reality right now. That's the problem. That's the biggest problem. But even if there's a little bit of improvement from the team going forward, I'm sorry, I'm talking too much, Mike. I'm on kind of a jag here. But it's going to be hard to overcome. I've stopped believing, Mike. It's going to be hard for them to overcome that, that baggage now at this point. It's like it's there, and we were so happy to escape from the baggage of all of the Kelly stuff. Fans walking away from the program, fans complaining about, where the program was and how, and how he, treated fans and media and all that stuff. And it was just so negative. And we basically had like a honeymoon of a game and a half. And now we're kind of right back to the same place with just the way the program is being perceived from the outside and, close to the program of fans coming out the Rose Bowl and stuff. And this is a long, very long point, but coming back around to it, to this game in particular, the most annoying thing I heard from people talking about Indiana beating UCLA was the take of UCLA lost to Indiana, who was supposed to be a bottom third team in the Big Ten. Look, if you watch the game, it is obvious that Indiana's a pretty good team. There is no shame.
Oh yeah.
In losing to this Indiana team. There's absolutely no shame. If the Bruins would have played a competitive game and they came up on the short end, I think we'd all be like, that sucks. It's terrible. But Indiana looks like a quality Big Ten team. Not a Big Ten winning team, but a pretty quality team.
Yeah.
you can't then say, oh, they lost to this, they lost to Indiana. Well, no, they lost to a good team. But the problem is,
they lost to a very good team. Yeah,
they looked so bad doing it. They looked so incompetent doing it. The story isn't that they lost to Indiana. The story is, oh my God, did you see how they look? Like, that's the story, and that's where you need to focus. Because saying it the other way takes a lot of credit from Indiana, and to be quite honest, they deserve the credit. They deserve the way that they're playing.
I agree with you that, yeah.
And I'm sorry, Mike. That kind of set me off a little bit, but there you go, Mike. What do you think?
No, everything you said was absolutely true.
Thanks.
It's like it's just little bit depressing, because it's
a lot.
You have this chance to kind of prove yourself, and then and guess what, Jake? Game against LSU on national TV. Yeah. Middle of the day.
Another opportunity to be absolutely embarrassed.
Exactly. And that's the thing. When we were on the Pac-12 network, nobody could see us how bad we were. But 3 straight games on network television, and people are just it's going to be a laughingstock. I don't see, UCLA is a 22.5 point underdog. I don't see how UCLA has any chance in this game. Maybe looking at LSU, they definitely have a lot of their problems, but they still hung with USC. They beat I forgot. I'm blanking on who they played the second week, but they beat up on a team that they should have beaten up on. South Carolina almost stunned them, so that's a little bit of a thing. But for the most part, LSU has they're doing what they need to do. Brian Kelly has been in the business for quite a while. He knows exactly what he needs to do. How is he's in his 3rd season at LSU. He knows what goes on. He's in the SEC. Even an underperforming LSU team, favored by 22.5 points, says something about the level of talent and coaching and just overall production of UCLA.
Yeah, and we're not to LSU. We're not to LSU yet. We'll hit that up.
No, exactly.
In a minute, but you're absolutely right, Mike. And I do want to get to what the Bruins' schedule is like. But while we're sitting here marinating in the negativity, we'll just kind of reset this.
Sometimes it's hard to be a Bruin.
Sometimes it's hard to be a Bruin, and we're there right now. Mike, you bring up the LSU game. I want to bring up just as a whole the rest of their schedule, because the Bruins have been falling like a rock, down the advanced stats rankings. And so now, just to give you an idea where they're at, they are the 3rd worst ranked Big Ten team in the S&P Plus and in the FPI, ESPN's. I guess they're both ESPN rankings. They dropped 20 spots in the FPI. I think they dropped another 20 spots in the S&P Plus. But now and by the way, the only teams that are below them in FPI and S&P Plus are teams that they do not play. So, they got that going for them. As far as everybody else on their schedule now is ahead of them in the FPI and the S&P Plus, which doesn't mean, really anything other than the fact that now they're going to be really expected to lose every one of these games, probably with the exception of maybe Fresno State because it's at home, right? But just going down the list, I'm going to go down the list of the teams left on their schedule and where they are ranked. For S&P Plus, or let's see, I'll do S&P Plus. Fresno, UCLA is at 73. Fresno's at 67. And then every other team on their schedule is in the top 50. Rutgers 41, Indiana, who they just played, was 40, Minnesota is 32, Washington is 25, Nebraska is 24, Iowa is 23, all grouped together there, right? LSU 18, USC 17, Penn State 11, Oregon at the top at 8. Then on FPI, sorry, I have to sort this real quick. Once again, the Bruins are way down at 80. And then left on the schedule, I don't know where Fresno State is, but they're ahead of them. But then as far as their Big Ten schedule goes, Rutgers, every team on the Big Ten schedule, once again, is in the top 50 of FBI. which is at least 30 spots ahead of where the Bruins are. Rutgers is 47. Minnesota is 43. Iowa is 32. Washington is 30. Nebraska is 25. Indiana, who they just played, is 19. USC is 12. Ducks 11. Penn State 9. So before the season started, half of those games, the Bruins were either ahead or within a very tight grouping of them, and we looked at those games as coin flips. You can't do that anymore based on how this team has come out to play. And that is a road opener that they had a month to prepare for, and they show up and lay an egg in the first half of Hawaii and then scrape a victory together. And then they get a bye week, and they come out in their bye week and get absolutely murdered by a good Indiana team, but it shouldn't have been, it shouldn't have gone like that, right? And so that's where we're at now, and that's why it's so depressing. So, Mike, is it possible that there's some massive, unexpected turnaround for this team, and all of a sudden they're in some of these games and winning some games and get us back to an optimistic sort of take? What would have to happen, do you think, Mike, in order for them, or what do you think is the biggest problem that needs to be fixed that would allow them to be competitive in these games that are coming up, in which now it looks like they are kind of non-competitive?
The biggest, I would say, is the run game / run blocking by the offensive line. They increased against Hawaii. They had 1 yard per carry. That went up to 3.1, but that still wasn't a lot, because what did they have total rushing yards? I have it right here. Sorry, I was actually kind of prepared, and now I'm not. 96. That's okay for a team that doesn't run much.
How much did they average last year, Mike? 200 yards.
Yeah,
first in the pack.
Exactly. And even so, Ethan Garbers is getting a big chunk of that. He wasn't the one Bruin that had the most rushing yards this game, but he still had a pretty good amount. You can't have your quarterback be your top rusher, and he's the top rusher simply because he's scrambling all the time, trying to not get his head taken off.
And by the way, Mike,
and trying to extend plays, and just not, things are just not open for him. Anyway, sorry, Jake. What?
No. I want you to keep going, but I just wanted, just for perspective, they are last in the Big Ten in attempts at 23. The next worst is, they have 23 rushes per game. The next worst is 34 per game. Or I'm sorry, there's one with 28.
Oof.
I can't get it to sort for some reason. So they're 5 behind the next worst, and that's Purdue. Most of the teams in the every other team in the conference is over 30. Okay, they are last in the conference.
Oh, is that attempts per game or total attempts?
No, attempts per game.
Okay.
Yeah, and they're over 45 yards a game off of second worst. They're the only team in the Big Ten under 100 yards at 83.5. And then they are worst in the conference in average per attempt. And they are
2 years
under 4 yards per carry, well under 3 3/4 yards per carry. They're at 3.63 yards per carry. They are the only team in the Big Ten with less than 3 rushing touchdowns. Okay, they only have 1 on the season. So I mean, it's just a complete failure in that regard. So. That's not.
2 years ago, well. Zach Charbonnet was getting 96 rushing yards by himself.
Yeah,
that's where this thing is going, and a lot of it has to do with the offensive line too. And yes, you would like to have a deep offensive line, but they have what they have, and these guys are
Mike.
They have experience, but they're not executing.
Mike, what do you say about the fact that these guys are pretty much the guys that they had last year? But it's just the coaching staff that's changed. I mean, there is that argument too, man. I generally think that, whatever play a coach calls, there might be a wrong play to call in a particular situation, and then we can second guess that over and over again in some critical moment. But overall, play to play to play, some guys are better at calling plays than others, but generally speaking, I am more likely to point out what a player did wrong on a particular play that was called than I am to be like, oh, that's a bad play call. However, with this, what we've seen so far after 2 weeks and the types of mistakes you're seeing from the players, you know, like all the weird Garber stuff, and then the way that the running backs, especially against Hawaii, were just like dancing in the backfield and not knowing where to go, and the way that the offensive line kind of as a whole was completely whiffing on guys, or it looked like there was not even a guy assigned to block somebody. To me, that screams the fact that either these play designs are dreadful and or these players have not been able to adapt to them, which once again comes back onto the coaching of the offense. And that's where it's like, it's so depressing because it feels so much more like a kind of dead on arrival offense from a coaching aspect. So how much better can these guys get at this stuff? You know, that's really kind of scary.
And I want to really quick, I want to get your thoughts on this. Just the usage of players. Like, it seemed like we were talking about how deep UCLA's receiving core is. Like, I have the stats right here. TJ Harden had the most receptions in this last game. Moliki Mataveo, 3 receptions. He's a tight end. Rico Flores, only 2. Titus, only 2. Keegan Jones, a running back. Logan Lawyer, Jack Peterson, and Jalen Berger, another running back, only had 1 reception. Where the hell is Sturdivant? Where the hell is I'm blanking on the other guy. Like, it just doesn't seem like they're putting their best guys in position to succeed.
Mike.
No, Rico had 2. But
I'm just saying, like Titus, Rico, Mataveo, Sturdivant, Logan Loya, you know, these are all guys we thought could make plays. Mike, let me tell you this, okay? If I'm going to ask you, okay, how many plays the Bruins have run after 2 goddamn games, do you have any idea how many plays they've ran?
Kind of. But I did want to talk about this too. I do not know, but please tell me. And then if you could answer this, do you think the plays are slow developing?
Oh, well, that's a different issue. But as far as like the run games go, I don't know if it's slow developing or just these guys are having to think too much while they're playing, and that is making it look extremely slow developing. However,
I agree with that.
Some of the screens and things that are being called are, slow developing plays, and not all of them look dreadful. Like, some of those plays are pretty cool, but it can't all be that. And, you know, and to me, it's not, once again, it's not necessarily that the plays being called are quote unquote bad plays. It's that the players are not able to execute them properly, and maybe little things are just not designed right about how they're doing them. You know, these little hiccups that are really causing the players to overthink things and not get it done. But to get back to what I was talking about as far as like the plays go, man. UCLA is last in the Big Ten right now as far as plays ran on offense. You want to know why they haven't got their guys involved? They haven't had enough plays to get them involved. UCLA has only ran 108 plays over 2 goddamn games. That's 54 plays per game. That is a ridiculously low pace. The top team in the Big Ten has ran 228 plays. That's Maryland. Wisconsin's 222. Iowa, Oregon, and Northwestern are all over 200. Nebraska, Indiana, Michigan, Washington are all over 190. Right? You know, the only teams that are you know down close to where UCLA is are Penn State and Purdue, and you know you probably say Penn State because they've been much better, and Purdue because they've been they were the victim of a blowout or 2 themselves. You know, but that is way too few plays. Okay, and
I think if I remember correctly, Chip Kelly teams would have 70 to 90 plays per game.
That's what you're probably ideally looking at. And as far as like where the Bruins rank in the country, guess where they rank in the country as far as plays ran?
105,
134th, dead last in plays run. So I mean, dude, it's not going well. You know, they can't stay on the field and they can't keep a defense.
That's a huge stat.
Yeah, and just to give you some perspective, last year the Bruins, I'm trying to pull it up right now. how many plays did they run? They ran approximately 72 plays per game last year. So that's like 15, 20 more plays they were running, and they were only like middle of the pack last year with that number. Yeah. So it's just, and then by the way, last year's offense for UCLA, no one would accuse that of being like, very, very good. It had a couple of bright spots and otherwise pretty bad UCLA offense. In the year before, they were about the same rate as well, and that was a pretty productive offense as far as like yards per game. They're up over 500 yards per game. But just no matter how you slice it, this defense, and this will take us to when we talk, later about LSU, or when we talk about LSU, the Bruin offense is at a non-competitive level right now. I think the defense, there's more to, there's more they can do with that. Although by the end of the game, they were non-competitive against Indiana. Once again, Indiana being a pretty good team. But the offense doesn't even meet the minimum requirement for them to be competitive in a game. I don't care who the opponent is right now. So until that is, fixed, I don't see where we go from here, Mike. So, what do we tell people as far as like listening to this show or listening to or looking into UCLA football? How can we with a straight face tell them that there's any reason to tune in and watch this team against LSU, against Oregon, against Penn State? It's almost like, we're going to still be doing the What's Bruin show, so please tune in. I'm going to be going. I already paid for my tickets to go to I'm going to New Orleans on Friday, and I'm going to Death Valley. I'm going to watch this team. I'm going to be sitting in the freaking front row behind the Bruin bench and
take pictures.
Yeah, I'll take some pictures. But I'm like, I'm not a very smart person for doing this, right? I really am not. But
Jake.
I'm there
despite the fact that exactly. When was actually I was going to say, when was the last time you've been in New Orleans? You haven't actually been there quite a bit.
Well, I've never been to an SEC game.
You never.
I've never been to an SEC
You've never
game.
been to Tiger Stadium
or an SEC game that in an SEC stadium. I've been to an SEC game before because I went to the Rose Bowl last year. But anywho,
exactly.
The thing is that honestly, and this hurts me to say it, we've spent a lot of time over the summer thinking about what we want to do with the show and how we wanted to cover the Bruins, and we were excited for the dawn of a new era. But I hate to say it, like I wouldn't blame any Bruin fan for just saying, okay, I'm going to check out. Maybe I'll pay more attention to the NFL. Maybe I'll pay more attention to my family. Maybe I'll do some kids sports. Maybe I'll start reading a book or something and check back with this team in a couple weeks just to see if they've shown any signs of life whatsoever, because this is an absolute depressing thing to watch. And unless you have committed yourself to watching it, like you and me, like you get paid, and I, for some reason, decide to do this in my, anyway. But it's like, unless you're like us, really, really sick-minded people, why would you subject yourself to this at this point? Because we don't live. We don't live in the Northeast. We aren't completely ridiculous sports fans without any perspective. We can, I don't know, Mike. I'm in a really dark place right now, if you couldn't tell. So,
totally.
What would you tell Bruin fans right now about what's upcoming in the next, 3-4 weeks? What is there to enjoy?
Here's what I would say. Go to Amoeba, buy a record player, start loading up on records, just play your favorites. It's coming back, baby. It's been back.
Don't scratch a record.
If you're not into buying football tickets, buy tickets to something you will enjoy. Like for me, on Wednesday, I will be enjoying the sultry dulcet tones of Mr. Jarvis Cocker from the band Pulp of Sheffield, England. And that is a band I am very excited about. So, and I'm not joking here. I'm not trying to go on this weird sidebar. That's literally something that I was talking to. Who was I talking to? I was talking to someone this weekend. My buddy Jim, who's a musician.
Hey Jim.
And he's a Rams fan, so he was depressed too.
Oh, ram it!
Sports is the one.
It's terrible.
It's the one exactly.
I hate sports.
It's the one piece of It's the one piece of entertainment where there's a 50% chance you're going to come out. Yeah, that was awesome. Or, damn it. With music, there's rarely that. You usually come out like, wow, that was a great show. I'm kind of have a different perspective about blah blah blah. Sports isn't everything, but it kind of is. And it does suck when all this happens. So I would say take up another hobby, go hiking. No, I'm just kidding. But in reality about UCLA, it is a building process. And that's the thing that sucks because it took 3 years for Chip Kelly to finally do something. And then when he did, it wasn't good enough. And then, like I said, it does feel like this is an extension of the Kelly tenure.
It doesn't to me. It feels like
a
reset,
you know what it feels,
and
it feels,
a step down.
Jake, you know what it feels like to me? It feels like I know Chip Kelly is not with UCLA anymore, but it feels like a substitute teacher is in. And so everything kind of goes out of control and they don't know how to do it. They're trying to do the lesson plan, and all these kids are just a little bit more wild. Or I'm not saying that the Bruins are wild and being little jerks like some students are when there's a substitute teacher.
Mike.
But it just feels like it's off the rails. It just seems like there's here's the thing that I notice: there's no identity. That I think is the biggest thing about this team right now.
Well, I'll tell you, Mike, I mean, with what you just said and then what I heard from Bill, I mean, that qualifies as some breaking news for me. Let's get to that.
What's brewing? News. Breaking news on a weekly basis.
News just in.
So we talk about the host and former co-host of the What's Bruin show. I haven't talked to Jamaal, but as far as Bill and Mike go, Mike just compared Deshaun Foster taking over our UCLA football program, our proud program, and compared him to a substitute teacher where things have gone amok, kind of like he was Mark Harmon, proud Bruin, in summer school. And now all of a sudden he's hopefully not banging a 17-year-old co-ed, and guys are making a horror movie in his backyard.
Whoa!
And that Courtney, whatever, that's a weird 80s
Courtney
movie.
Courtney
Thorne Smith. He turns her down, which is good.
Just to be
clear,
Jake is talking about a movie.
I would take him to jail for that. If that happens
just to
today.
Be clear,
like that
Jake's
would be
talking about an 80s.
Well, I don't know about going to jail, but that would definitely be a
classic.
It would definitely be
not the UCLA football team as it stands.
And we love Mark currently. Harmon. Anyways, so Mike's compared Deshaun Foster to a substitute teacher, and on the BJ edition this week.
Welcome to the BJ edition.
Your good friend Bill compared Deshaun Foster and his moment at Big Ten Media Day he equated Deshaun Foster and now this opening of the season to President Joe Biden having like a meltdown in one of his meltdowns leading him up to him stepping down from the presidential race. So that's where what we're equating
that's a stretch.
This start. Well, how? He comes out of Big Ten Media Day and he's like, "We're from LA." I mean, it's not a dissimilar.
He wasn't wrong,
fart.
Jake.
It's not a dissimilar brain fart. It's not a dissimilar brain fart.
He's from LA.
And then you look at how they come out and play on offense. It's not.
Yeah.
They're not giving us a lot. Anyways, Mike, you're the one who said he's a substitute teacher running amok, out of control.
The economy has been better.
I know.
Sorry, what are we talking about?
I know. I'm just saying that's where we're at.
I wish. Hopefully. I guess to equate this, I hope UCLA's economy becomes better.
Oh God!
Because if they don't start putting points on the board, Tracy wrote about this today on Monday. Donations are going to be down. NIL is going to be down. Like, who's going to want to participate in this? Yes, we could try to put together some sort of system in which the UCLA football team can be sustainable. And in addition to Big Ten money, there's going to be more coming into the UCLA athletic department. But if the UCLA football team is tanking, that's the biggest moneymaker. Who's going to want to contribute to that? It's going to be very difficult to try to convince people like, oh, this is the first season, blah, 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 blah. If they win 1, 2, 3 games, that's going to be a very hard sell, despite the fact that fundraising has been improved. Because even still, it's going to be hard to get money in, and if you don't have money in, that's going to be hard to bring in top transfers or even high school recruits, which is so bizarre to talk about in this day and age, but that's what it is. If there's no glimmer of hope for the future, that's going to be a very tough sell.
Look, and by the way, if they were to win 2 or 3 or 4 games or whatever, you're right, that probably is massively depressing, but there's a way in which it could be spun to be optimistic if they're getting better as the season goes. And once again, we're only at game 2. And it is possible that they have a massive turnaround. That's within the realm of possibility. It's just looking at them now, how can you envision it? And then looking at them now, given the schedule they're facing, how can you envision it? It just seems so low probability now. That's what's really depressing. If they would have come out and got beat by Indiana, they have a great win against Hawaii, they get beat by Indiana, but it's a close competitive game, and there's things that we look at that they improved at, well, then it's a whole nother story. But they come out after a bye week. Yeah. They come out after a bye week at home, and I would argue that the Indiana game is way, way, way worse than the Hawaii game, even given the step up in opponent, Indiana to Hawaii. But, Mike, we were kind of starting to go around in circles. I'm just going to play it one last time, just how we all feel it. I don't know. If anybody's still listening to us at this point, this has got to be one of the most depressing shows ever. But here we go.
I think it's joyful.
Sometimes hard to be Bruin.
Giving all your love to just one thing.
So
we're all off key, but it's gorgeous.
Yeah, I know. We've almost done this for a good hour. I'm going to just get us right to What's Brewing with You, and then we're going to come back at another show a little bit later in the week. And I promise the listener calls, but we're going to do listener calls, and then we'll get to the LSU, and then we'll get to the weekend where I'm in New Orleans and Baton Rouge, and then we'll come back and
you lucky SOB.
I'm looking forward to the trip, but gee whiz, that game is going to be something else. All right, anyways,
Jake, you're going to need some Sazerac.
You better believe it. All right, Mike. Let's get to Bill's favorite part of the show. Oh, wait, go ahead.
Just really quickly, you do know that for I think it's a mere $300, you can put together your own parade in New Orleans.
Yeah, second line. Let's go.
Freaking awesome.
Yeah.
Do it.
What event should
Have
I
you
do
heard
a second
of
line
the comedian Hannibal Buress?
Yeah.
I gotta send you this one of his stand-up comedies that's I think it's on Spotify. He does this whole thing on New Orleans and the whole parade thing. It is freaking hilarious. So all you out there promoting Mr. Hannibal Buress, I think he's one of the funniest comedians out there. Hilarious. But Jake, let's get to this.
All right, what's brewing with you?
What's brewing with you? You ask me. What's brewing with me? Yeah. What's brewing with you? What's brewing with me? What's brewing with you?
Mikey, I'm going to sandwich your what's brewing with one quick one for me and then a longer one for me. Number one, my co-host of the Bare Minimum, Megan Merrifield, my wonderful daughter that's up
the Bare Minimum
at Cal Berkeley right now and has been, is in the band now, and she's now completed her second game of marching. She just texted me I'll put this in the show notes for at least the Substack. If you want to see the pictures, go to the Substack. What's Bruin .substack.com. But it's a picture of a business card somebody gave her, and it's a Cal marching band business card that they write in the nickname of the particular band member, and she now got one for her nickname, which is Megatron, and she's got a hat now that's got a little Transformer Megatron on top of it, and the Megatron that she has, thank you, Mike, on top of the hat is chopping down a tree on top of the hat, which is awesome. And she said that this business card that I'll put in the show notes on the Substack, she said, someone handed this to me mysteriously and disappeared. The band likes my nickname so much that they did this for funsies, and I'm universally known as Megatron, UC Megatron.
Hells yeah.
UC Megatron by all the old men, even the ones I haven't really met yet. Old men are the older band people, not like creepy old men.
Yeah.
And
not
I haven't
creepy
been formally,
70-year-old donors.
Yeah. and I haven't formally met yet, just from the brief 2 weeks that she's been in the band. So she's been in that a little bit longer than that, but anyways, yeah. So that's very, very fun. So good for Megan.
Very proud of the Megan Merrifield.
Me too, and she looks really cool marching. So, Mike, what's wrong with you, brother?
What did I do this weekend? I had that amazing football game. Yeah, that was just nuts. But before that, so earlier last week, about a week ago, you just kind of know your car. Things are just like not settling well, and I hear that. So I'm like, all right, I got to get new brake pads. So I planned that for Saturday. Whatever, it's a thing. It's life. Brake pads are
definitely
whatever.
They are required.
It's a necessity. So I'm like, all right, I'll do that Saturday before the game. It'll be fine. Friday, I wake up to my car. The low pressure tire thing is on. I'm like, what? And I'm like, which one is it? And I look, my front left tire.
Oh no.
Big ass screw right in the middle of it. I'm like, oh no. I'm like, am I gonna? So I go put some air. Hopefully it sustains, its consistency. Sure enough, right before I get on the freeway to work, it's just kind of like I'm feeling the. So I'm like, change my tire in a panic. I put my spare on. That was low, so I go to another gas station to try to fill it up. This and goddamn you, East LA, I love you, but come on, help me out here. The air pump that I was at this other gas station was broken, so when I put it into the nozzle, it let more air out. So I'm like, God damn it! Gosh. So I'm making my way to work. I'm like, hey, I'm gonna be late. Blah blah blah. I'm stressing as fuck. So either way. I get back to after work. I drive slowly, take the streets, and I get to my place. I was looking for a place on the west side, and everything's freaking expensive. So I just drive slowly and get back to my place in East LA. No problem. Switch the tires out. Next morning, I go to get my brakes done, and the guy calls me over. He goes, "Hey, your back tire, the threads are showing." And I look. And there's just this like big gap of metal exposed. I'm like, God damn it. So I'm like, let's get another tire. So I had to spend money on 2 tires, brake pads. But the thing is, you know what? I drive a lot. I drive my kids. I have a safe car. I'm fine with that. So that was going on. And then I go to the UCLA game and all chaos ensues and blah, 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 blah. But yeah, on a happier note, as I've kind of mentioned before, I've been waiting for this goddamn Pulp concert forever.
Woohoo.
My favorite band in the world. I've only seen them once at Coachella. I was supposed to see him the weekend after, but my wonderful baby Poppy was born that weekend, so I gave my tickets to my sister Jenny, who she's a fan of. I got her into the Pulp, and that little punk at the end of the show, she got to meet him.
Oh my God.
Has a picture with him and everything. I'm
really?
like, God damn it.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah. I'm like, Either way, my buddy Ignacio got some tickets. He goes, I got an extra. I'm pretty sure you want this, right? So I'm like, yes. So actually earlier today, secured the ticket. I secured the bag. I'm going to the Palladium, going to go see the Pulp. It's going to be an amazing show. For those of you on Twitter, if you don't like music or my music, just mute me. It's going to be annoying all Wednesday night. I'm just saying.
It's very cool, Mike. I'm very happy for
What's ultimately Bruin with you?
So yes, and I have a concert thing too, because somehow over the weekend the events conspired to get me to a concert at Dodger Stadium last night, and I ended up on the floor at Pink's not Carnival. What's her show called this year? Anyways, the Pink's concert. I was at Dodger Stadium and I was on the floor at the concert, which is kind of fun.
I thought you were going to say Green Day because I know Green Day was at SoFi.
No. This was at Dodger Stadium. And by the way, Dodger Stadium, I haven't been to a concert in a while. At least on the floor, it was like wonderfully. The sound was terrific there, right? It's Pink's Summer Carnival is what her tour is called this time around. And look, I don't think I'd ever go to a Pink concert like on my own, given the choice. But now that I've been to one,
Jake, whatever.
I'm just telling you, it was a thoroughly enjoyable experience. And she is like uber talented performer. Like I have a like carnival tour on video, and I thought that was always pretty rad. But but she is also like a certified acrobat aerialist, right? Flying all over at one point, the finale of the show, she is on a rig that is launching her at high speed from like the back, the stage, which is at the back of the Dodger outfield, across the field, 100 feet in the air to like home plate. And then she dances through the air like Tinkerbell, lands on a little platform that's about 2 by 2, lands on it 1-footed, does like an upside down flip, flips up in the air, flies around the stadium again, and all while singing, like not lip syncing like those bitches from, In Sync. Like she's actually belting out the tunes. And that was obviously the highlight of the show, but the whole concert was rather fun. Plus Sheryl Crow was her opener, and Sheryl Crow is very, very good.
Dope. Nice.
And she's like 64. She looks like she's 44, and I think she's only a better performer now than she's ever been. Not to say she was ever bad, but she just gets better. And it's like it's not the concert that I normally would go to, but it was a very enjoyable concert.
Yeah.
And it's funny too, because this all started with me escorting a friend's who was out of the country, escorting his ex-wife, daughter, granddaughter to the show, just because they weren't real comfortable navigating the whole concert thing, and it was like a thing. And I don't know why it was a thing, but it was a thing. So I'm like, sure, I'll take him down there. And I was supposed to be outside, take him down, drop him off, get him in, and then take him home. Right? That's what it was going to be. Well, on the way there, they buy me a ticket to get in, and now I'm not.
Jake, you do realize this is kind of the plot of Pulp Fiction, right?
A little bit. It is a little bit. Yeah. So then we're driving down there to buy a ticket. And then I'm like, well, the ticket's not where you guys are, which is on the floor like 20 feet from the stage. But I'll just hang out in there. It's fine. I'll watch the show. I'll get something to eat or whatever. And like, oh, no, you'll get on the floor with us. I'm like, I don't think so, because they give you wristbands. Like, and each wristband is like, with a ticket. And like, oh, no.
Did they pull some strings?
We go over to the wristband table, and they disappear for like 30 seconds. They come back, and she's like, oh, here's your wristband. I'm like, okay, that's black magic. But anyways, then we go down the floor, and the rest is history. So it was good. I was out a little late, but it was a fun time. And like I said, that Pink, she's a very talented lady, and she puts on a heck of a show. And I was glad to be there. It was a lot of fun. So and
Jake, I've only been to Dodger Stadium for a concert once.
And happy birthday to my friend Shirley,
go ahead.
who I went to the concert with, and she's a lovely lady, and I was happy to go. Anyways, go ahead, Mike.
Mm-hmm. I've been to one concert at Dodger Stadium, and that was my very first concert. Genesis, baby.
Oh, wow.
What was that, like 1987?
Which tour?
I think it was.
Yeah. Was that like Invisible Touch? Land of Confusion?
The Way We Walk.
Oh, my gosh. Oh, yeah. I Can't Walk or whatever. That's a fun one.
I Can't Dance. Yes,
I Can't Dance tour.
Yeah. Yes. And I was like, oh my God, this is awesome. And it was funny. That was the first time I ever smelled marijuana. And my dad turns to me and no shit. Especially in East LA, like you just walk down the street and it's like, whoof. My mom and dad turned to us and to me and my sister, who went with me to that concert, and they're like, hey, do you kids smell that? And we're like, yeah, I guess. And they're like, don't ever smell it again. We're like, the hell does that mean?
That's hilarious.
I can I understand the whole don't do drugs thing, but it's like, well, I can't not do it if someone is in the vicinity.
Yeah.
I mean, come on now.
Maybe not the most clear and effective messaging from your parents in that moment. Maybe not.
But
okay. We're all just trying to do our best.
It was effective for the next 5 to 10 years in certain aspects. But anyway,
that's hilarious. All right, Mikey. Well, that's excellent. I am very looking forward to you going to see one of your favorite bands. I've seen
Hells yeah,
two
so
of
excited.
my all-time favorite bands at the Palladium, and both times it was awesome. I saw Arctic Monkeys there when they were a tiny band.
That is such a good spot.
They ripped the freaking roof off the place. I saw Franz Ferdinand there when they were a not so tiny band, but a tiny enough band. And they freaking just destroyed that place. And then I've seen a bunch of shows at the Palladium, and I love going there. It's great. So enjoy, brother. Enjoy. That's gonna be a great show.
Oh, definitely.
All right. So guys,
That was a good positive ending.
Hopefully, yeah, if anybody's listening. So anyways, we're going to come back. We're going to have one more bit of catharsis for this bad home opener for the Bruins, and that will be your calls in total. And then we're also going to do a short little what's LSU all about, and I'll have something to say about that. That'll come out in the next couple days when I put it all together. And I apologize for things being a little bit out of order, but that's the way it's got to be this week because we're recording a little bit early. And then I will come back with a post game at some point live from New Orleans. It won't be live. I'll record it and then put it up, but live enough. And so if you have anything to say before or after leading into the LSU UCLA game, I'll catch it and I'll put it in the post game after the LSU game. And I guess let's just cross our fingers and hope for the best until then. And Mikey, I guess that's it. So have a good time at your concert. And until next time.
Thank you, sir.
Go Bruins.
Go Bruins.
Good evening.
Smoke 'em if you got 'em.
That was the What's Bruin Show.
Try us tomorrow. Same bat time, same bat channel.
It's got to be in or out, Mom. In or out. Well, I need the door closed.
Thank you for your cooperation.
Dude, bro, we play some ball on the West Coast.
The final word is boob.